All right, man, peace. So, brothers, if the basketball franchise that you happen to root for is very fortunate, they may be able to luck into a transcendent player. And the reason why I say luck into is because the NBA draft, the NFL draft, the Major League Baseball draft is basically the luck of the draw. In other sports, for the most part, if you have a great amateur pedigree, it will normally translate into success in the pros. Like, for example, boxing. If you're a highly decorated amateur, you've won at the Pan Am Games, you've won the Golden Gloves, you've made an appearance at the Olympics, maybe not even medaled, but just went to the Olympics. It almost guarantees that you're going to have success as a pro. It puts you on the fast track towards championship opportunities as a professional boxer if you're successful in the amateurs, because the promoters know that you understand your craft. In basketball, that's not always the case. There are many examples of phenomenal prospects who don't pan out in the pros, but every once in a while you come across certain young fledgling talents who have that it factor. Back in the 90s when Jason Kidd was at Cal, you could see that he had that it factor. Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill as well. Now you bring it up to today, Trae Young, when I first saw him at Oklahoma, I knew that he had certain issues, certain problems, but he always had that it factor. He was a phenomenal passer, even in college. And that has translated over into the NBA. He's also a very highly skilled scorer. But his number one attribute is that he's a phenomenal passer. And if he comes to embrace that, he can be something that maybe the NBA has not seen before, especially in the era of no hand checking. He basically can go all across the court without being impeded. Same thing with Luka Doncic. He's something that the NBA may never have seen before. We'll see how his game develops. But he has the potential to be an even greater version of a James Harden, because the main difference between James Harden and Luka, as I can see, is that Luka never quits. You can get James Harden to quit. As talented as he is, you can get him to quit. But Luka never quits. And his game also transfers better into the playoffs because he's not wholly dependent on the referees to bail him out. When I look at Lamelo Ball, I also see a prospect who has that it factor. So basically it's going to come down to what is his decision-making process both on the court and off the court. Can he avoid trouble, litigations, baby mama drama, getting caught up in unsavory situations with his so-called posse or retinue or his entourage, whatever term you want to use? Those are pretty much the only things that are going to stop Lamelo Ball from becoming a star in the NBA, assuming that he develops his game every offseason, because he does have to clean up his jump shot, other things he can clean up, but he does have that it factor. I think that as long as he stays on the right course, he's going to be a star in the NBA. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
It's like he brought a skill with him. Has to put it in the air and put it in the hole.
LaMelo Ball! Got it! LaMelo Ball!
I just let the game come to me, and that's all.
A beautiful find, LaMelo.
Let me also say this. He's one of the best natural passers that I've seen come into the NBA in the last 30 years. I mean, in the last 30 years, you basically have Jason Kidd, Jason Williams, Chris Paul, and a few other guys. But this person, LaMelo Ball, his natural aptitude to execute high-level passes is almost unparalleled in today's game. He's an incredible passer.
Is going to find the open player.
Now, in regards to that hand sign right there, could he be MK programmed? Who knows? We do know that the Ball family, they certainly have a track record in Hollywood, not only with the father, LeVar Ball, but also the grandfather, who made appearances, I believe, in Rocky III or a couple of the Rocky films, where LaMelo Ball's grandfather was already in Hollywood. So who knows where this is going overall when it comes to the esoteric perspective, but we're just going to keep this video on the two-dimensional level when it comes to our assessment of where his career can go. And as far as I can see, the sky's the limit as long as he stays out of drama, out of trouble, especially pertaining to the woman. We know that his older brother Lonzo, he had a bit of baby mama drama that seems to have subsided. Hopefully none of that befalls LaMelo.
Good news out of Charlotte. LaMelo Ball has been cleared to resume individual basketball activity after a CT scan on his fractured right wrist showed that it has been healed. There's optimism he could return to game action in 7 to 10 days.
Now that I think of it, if I remember correctly, I believe that the rumor mill states that he's dating a porn star. I can't remember which one it is. I think that it's this chick Tiana Trump or something like that is the porn star that he's dating. So he's already off to quite a start.
Comes as the Hornets sit at the 8th seed, 10.5 games back from the Miami Heat in the 7th. Lamelo, one of the best shows in the league this season before that injury. Stephen A., will he put the Hornets back on the map?
Not this year, but in the coming years he will. I'm just not sure if Michael Jordan is going to be able to re-sign him. But LaMelo Ball is a special player, very special player. He reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Molly.
Do you think LaMelo returning will put the Hornets back on the map?
Yes. Listen, they're a 500 team now, and I got to admit, I like the young talent that they have here, and
they do have a lot of nice young talent. They're somewhere in the same ballpark of the Atlanta Hawks. It's just that they don't have the shooting that Atlanta has, but they have a lot of young talent. Atlanta has a profound amount of talent on their team, especially in the shooting department. And on top of that, Nate McMillan has them playing high-level defense. They're going to be a problem for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Ben Haywood, who obviously departed from Boston, he's averaging about nearly 20 a game, 19.6 to be exact, on 47% shooting from the field. I give him a lot of credit where credit is due.
Now, if you're paying very close attention, and this is a tactic that both ESPN and Fox Sports 1 like to use, especially when they communicate with the viewing audience through photographs. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the graphic of LaMelo Ball with the Masonic pledge, the left hand over his chest, over his heart.
To bring to the equation, even though he's missed about 12 games for them right now. And we all see Devontae Graham, the P.J. Washingtons of the world, Miles Bridges, a human highlight reel. But LaMelo Ball, 15.9 points, 6 assists per game, 45% shooting, 37.5% from three-point range, and the dude is just assertive. And this team believes in him.
He has a tricky handle too, even though he carries the ball a lot.
And they love it. They love being on the floor with him. And I think when you watch these young dudes play with nothing to lose, because they don't have much history to fall back on, I definitely think he can come back and make things very, very interesting for this team moving ahead to the end of the regular season and possibly getting into the playoffs.
First, let me say this. LaMelo Ball, if he comes back from this successfully, Stephen A., plays in most of the remaining games, I still think he should be Rookie of the Year. In fact, I think coming back off that injury only adds to his case.
He definitely deserves to be Rookie of the Year, especially in light of the impact that he's had on the Hornets' competitiveness. I mean, their squad was a team that definitely vacillated when it came to competitiveness. Now, we know that they had Kemba Walker, who's always been one of the more competitive players in the National Basketball Association, but there was certainly a dip there when Kemba left the team. And with LaMelo arriving, he's brought that competitiveness back. All they need is some shooting now.
Just because Edwards or Halliburton haven't cemented it, but because what a thing to come back from. It's supposed to be a season-ending injury. You're clearly the best rookie. You come back and play out the remainder of the season, play your team into the play. If he does that, to me, he's Rookie of the Year. It only adds to his case. That's the first thing. The second thing is he's already an all-star caliber player. Already. And he's
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that he's an all-star caliber player, but we know that Max Kellerman is a master of hyperbole. There's no way that he's going to make the all-star team over some of the top flight guards in the Eastern Conference. Not right now.
He is a genius level passer. And
I agree with that.
Do a lot of stuff. He's assertive. Is he going to put the Hornets back on the map? Not in a permanent way, and I'll tell you why. Because when you have a market like Charlotte, you have 6 years to win a championship. And then a marketable star like LaMelo is going to want, unless you won a championship or you think you're going to win it the next season, his agent's going to call the team and let Michael Jordan know, you might as well trade us this upcoming season because otherwise we're just going to sign away. You're not going to get anything for us.
There's a very good possibility that that's going to happen. So there may be or there may have to be a meeting of the minds between Michael Jordan and LaMelo Ball within the next couple of seasons to figure out what LaMelo wants to do. Because we definitely know that LeVar Ball is going to be in his son's ear trying to orchestrate, this reconvening of his sons on some franchise, maybe the Knicks. Who knows?
Major market. And by the way, his game translates to a major market. Personality game, the whole thing. And so I don't see, now look, maybe Michael Jordan, Stephen A., is willing to spend money when he thinks he has a chance to win, and he'll be able to show that, but he hasn't shown that yet. And if there's not...
Right, but who's the last top flight free agent that the Hornets had, where basically it was a referendum on Michael Jordan's spending decisions? I definitely would not count Kemba Walker as one of those players. I mean, they basically got everything out of Kemba that they could have gotten. He's been semi-damaged goods with the Boston Celtics. They had Kemba basically from the age of 21 to around 30. And the shelf life of a guard who's basically, his whole game is predicated on explosiveness and lateral movement and faking out his opponent, and he's only about 6 feet tall, 5'11". The shelf life on a guard like that is not really going to exist deep into his 30s. Basically, he's done as a player after 30 years old.
That can win a championship in the next several years, he's not going to wind up staying there. And so he won't be put back on the map in any permanent sense. I mean, the Greek Freak just signed an extension, but when was the last time a guy at that level signed in a market like that past the original, the original extension, right? Like past 7 years. I don't see him unless Jordan changes his ways as an owner or shows, hey, if the door is open, if I see some daylight, I actually will spend. Why would he stay there?
Nice.
Once again, Michael Jordan is an owner of a small market team. Small market teams do not attract top flight free agents. They never have. You're not going to see top flight free agents go to Indiana, go to Charlotte, go to Oklahoma City, go to San Antonio. You're just not going to see that. Go to Utah. Those type of teams do not attract top flight free agents. Every once in a while, you might be able to get a mid-level free agent to come onto your team who's trying to prove himself and won't be able to get a better deal somewhere else. But when it comes to the creme de la creme, they're not going to these small market teams. So that's not really a referendum on Michael Jordan and his ownership style.
Can we deal with that 3-4 years from now? The Charlotte Hornets, what have they done in recent memory? I mean, just think about that for a second here. The fact of the matter is they haven't been in the playoffs, what is it here? Since 2015, 2016 season, they've only had 3 playoff appearances since getting to the semifinals, led by Paul Silas in 2001, 2002. And so, in those 3 appearances that they made the playoffs since, they haven't been out in the first round. So when we talk about putting them back on the map, simply making the playoffs will do. And not to mention the fact that LaMelo ain't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. He's going to be there at least the next 3 years.
Right, but you know what? I don't mind Max Kellerman thinking like a futurist, because at the end of the day, when you're a Michael Jordan or any owner of a small market team, small market franchise, you do have to start considering, it's almost like the guy who walks down the street with the most beautiful woman in the neighborhood or in the community or what have you. You do have to expect that there's going to be some type of competition to take your woman away from you. So Michael Jordan does have to think like that early so that he can, put forth some type of preemptive tactic to keep LaMelo Ball on the team, because it's going to be very difficult to keep someone with that level of skill, talent, and charisma on a small market team.
No problem. We're talking about back on the map.
Put them on the map.
I'm saying
Put them on the map.
In a permanent way where he's challenging, or at least until the next 6-7 years, where he's going to be challenging for championships because he has that kind of talent.
Okay.
All right, we'll leave it there.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. We'll see how things go with LaMelo Ball. But I do see that he has that it factor. There's no doubt about that. So peace.